let's talk about my relationship, for example, right? Um, I knew that I wanted to be with one person for the rest of my life, right? Like I didn't want to be like dating, right? Like I didn't want to be like date this person and that person and that person, or dating apps or none of that stuff, right? So I had to be wife material first so that I could, do what a wife would do, so that I could have the man that would, that would be compatible with the wife that I want to be, so that I could have the man that I wanted, and that is actually where a lot of people miss the mark. A lot of times, especially younger people, because everything is so easy, right? Like, oh, swipe right, boom. Like Simon Sinek says, swipe right, I'm a stud, And the problem is that they're not practicing, they want to have that happily forever after, but they're not practicing that. They're not being the person that would have that happily ever after with that one person. You know what I'm saying? They're not practicing that. They're hooking up with everybody. It's like that's not what you do in marriage. That's not what it takes to be married. So why are you practicing for that? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And that it extrapolates to literally every part of your life. Same thing with being healthy, like with your diet you were talking about, or working out or whatever. It's like you want to have that beach body or whatever. Well, you gotta be the person who would eat that way so that you can have the body that you want, and it's just extrapolates to literally every part of your life, and it's people miss that. They don't teach us that, right? They don't teach us that understanding of like, you have to be that person first. Like, oh, you want to have a successful marriage, for example, well, then be the wife or the husband or the partner or the whatever, so that you could have that other person, because like attracts like, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And if you're not that person, then how are you going to find the other person that is going to be compatible with you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. This is you couldn't be more. I'm now single and I'm now dating, and I just realized that so much that
Yeah. Well, you're welcome then. Glad to help.
No, it's like that. It's like that. Like that. I already thought like that before. I don't know. I don't care to share it. It's just like, when you're younger, then you think like, oh, I date, and then you can pick whatever. But I mean, it's not the way you want to be, because then you attract the same kind of loose material people. So it's like you're going nowhere where you want to go. And if you are happy with that direction, then it's okay. But if you want something in another way, then you also have to act like that. And that is like when your patterns come in, that your insecurity comes in. Like, yeah, but how I know if the other person act like that too? Yeah, that don't matter, because if I act, consistent in who I want to be, then I will attract people. Then I just, then I will be. At least I will be myself, and then I will be probably attracting also the type of person that I am. I'm still working on this, but I think that when you're really yourself and you're aligned with yourself, then you are also the best place to attract. And that is what I realized with the book, with the TEDx, with my company, with friends. So it will be with dating the same. It's just their experience doesn't reach that far, but you're learning. I'm a learning man.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is so cool though. I think it is so liberating, at least for me, to be 100% honest, right? And to be just who you are with your friends or with your partner or whoever, like,
sure.
Like, my mom always told me when I was little, she was like, "You're not a $20 bill." And I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, not everybody's gonna want you. Not everybody's gonna like you. So might as well just be who you are, right? So, and that is the thing. It's like, did you say you speak Spanish or no?
Yes.
Yeah, so she would say, tú no eres un billete de 20, pues no le vas a caer bien a todo el mundo, you know? Yeah, so not everybody's gonna like you. And that is okay. Because here's the thing, you don't like everybody, do you? And that doesn't make them bad people, right? There's some people out there that you just don't like. And that doesn't make them bad people at all. That just means that you're not compatible, right? So might as well just be yourself, because you get to be compatible with the people who would be compatible with your true self, as opposed to playing this character, right, that you think people are gonna like, and then people are gonna be attracted to that, but that's not you, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to get because I like the holistic type of, you know, that everything is related. So like, if you think about classes, that students, they want to learn something, but they ask questions, and they like, I mean, to be totally honest and aligned with yourself, sometimes you get rejected, and I think that that hurts you, and that's what I see in students, that they ask questions to the teacher, and the teacher say, yeah, but you should have known this already, you know, like those kinds of things. And then you think, well, I'm not going to say that I don't know this anymore, because I don't want to get hurt. And I think some similar things happen in relationships. You think, yeah, well, if I'm being myself and they hurt me, then I'm best I put my bubble or my walls. And I just let my cool self see, and then I don't want to show my vulnerability, or I don't want to be honest about my feelings, because I don't want to be hurt. I think those kinds of things happen when you're I think that there's like I don't know how to say this, but you know, your old patterns, they come from somewhere. It's like a defense system.
Yeah.
So it's you can say, yeah, you have to be yourself, but that takes a lot of guts.
Oh, it does. It does. I didn't say it was easy. I never mentioned it was easy. Yeah. I said it was liberating. No, it is really hard. And I agree with you. There is that primitive self, right? That when we get hurt, it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. And it is there to protect you, right? Like if you put your finger in the socket, right, you're going to get electrocuted. Don't do that again, right? Yeah. like that's part of it. But it's creating that awareness, though, that just because, let's suppose that you're vulnerable with somebody, right, and that person snaps at you for whatever reason, right? There you have to discern whether is it truly something that you did that affected the other person negatively because your intention was to hurt the other person, right? Or is it their own story, right? Like, and it has nothing to do with you. And I think I actually learned this a lot with acting, right? Acting is not performing. Acting is auditioning. That's literally the business of acting. Is not, people think like, oh, I'm an actor because I've been on this TV show or that TV show. No, you're an actor because you've auditioned 1,000 times. That's my definition of an actor, right? Because what we do mostly is audition, right? Now, the thing is, like, a lot of times we take it so personal when we don't book a part, especially when we do our all, right? Like, we study the character forwards and backwards, and we make all these bold choices, and we know the script like the back of our hand, and we put it all out there, right? And then you don't even get a callback, right? And the one thing that I learned with acting, though, is like they cast you for the same reasons they don't cast you, right? And the only thing that you have control over is your work, not the casting process. Because you could look like the casting directors or the director's exes, They're not gonna cast you for that, most likely. Or they didn't like your voice, or you're too short for the part, or you're too tall for the part, or they're looking for a different ethnicity, or they went with a different gender, for whatever reason, or they cut out the part altogether because it doesn't make sense in the story anymore. And it has nothing to do with your performance. You killed it, and the casting director loved it, and the director loved it, and the producer loved it. You're just not right for the part anymore, or something happened with the part that is no longer going to be part of the project, And it has nothing to do with you, And a lot of times when it comes to, relationships, it's the same way. Right? Yeah. You can give it your all. You can be, funny and like vulnerable and all this. And then the other person doesn't receive it well, that's on them. You can't control other people's emotions. You can influence them, but you can't control them, because if you look like their psycho ex, you're going to have very slim chance. You're going to have to work extra hard, which has nothing to do with your personality, right? But they already have imprinted, right, that a person that looks like that is a psycho. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a friend who was engaged with a white guy for a long time, like 10 years or something like that, right? And he was very verbally abusive, like he was just a horrible person. Eventually, they ended up obviously calling off the engagement, and she won't date a white guy. She won't, because the definition, her experience with that one guy, she has generalized in her brain that all white men, she's going to have the same experience as him, and not to say that she thinks that all, white guys are verbally abusive or whatever, but it was more of a cultural thing, right? Because she's Hispanic and he was white, and the experience that she had even with his family was very hurtful for her, so she has this notion that she cannot date a white guy because that she's just going to repeat the experience. And I'm like, dude, you're cutting out the pool a lot.
Yeah. But that's the way it works. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's the way. That's what I'm trying to say. That when you're generalizing the things that happen to you, you want to protect yourself, but by protecting yourself, you're actually sabotaging yourself. So that's kind of a weird thing, and that's why, I, when we came across the way we think about math and about learning processes, is to be open and to don't think like, because there are a lot of people like here it's about the white guy, but you can easily project that on the bad teacher, the strong teacher, the subject that don't. I mean, it's like the experience traumatizes you, and then you want to go away from it when you're supposed to. I think you should actually, not in a abusive relationships is obviously different. But I mean, if it's about ethnicity or about a subject or whatever, you want to go through that to realize, to face your fears, because I mean, if they are not, face irrational fears, not, I shouldn't date a man that is.
Now the question is, how do you decide whether it's irrational or not? You know what I'm saying? That's when the awareness.
That's where the math come in.
Yeah.
Because you need to really, do you know yourself, and do you really, on what basis you make your choice? I mean, obviously, ethnicity, you can find easily a lot of, I mean, it's not common that a white man is abusive. It's not like it's known that white men are abusive. So at least not to my awareness. But,
no, it's not. Like I married a white guy and he's not. But you try to, are there things correlated that are not supposed to be? Then you can look at it and think like, oh, maybe here's a irrational fear. But yeah, stigmas and whatever. I mean, if you talk with a lot of people that think that way, then you get, conspiracy theories easily as well. So it's like, awareness, I think, is the key. And, to just experiment, I think. Talk to somebody and see, oh, is it like this, or it could be different, and to really, I think the key is just to get more experience, to stay in the field of life instead of in your head, because in your head you can make things easily. You can change the story as the way you want it. Yeah, Tony says if you get in your head, you're dead.
Yeah, it's like, it's the same pattern will repeat itself until you're convinced, and then when you have your conviction, then it gets more stuck, and then
Yeah, no, it's that bias, it's like, I'm right there, like we're really good friends, and she knows my experience with Chris, so she has a great example of what can be, a Hispanic woman with a white guy, and that's null and void for her, like that's not and that's the thing, that's the hardest thing with, like you were saying, with teaching, like sometimes you would have, it takes a lot for someone like you said, who has been traumatized with math, for example, right? Like their whole life they've struggled with math or whatever, and they find this one teacher who finally makes sense, but this teacher has to work twice as hard or 3 times as hard to convince this person that they're actually good at math, or that they can be good at math if they just open their mind to it, And I think that it is that failing ahead of time is what, if you haven't listened to her name is Brooke Castillo. Highly recommend her. Brooke Castillo. Yeah, she is a life coach as well. And she talks about this concept of failing ahead of time, and it's the fear of failure, right? So a lot of times we think, well, it can't be done, right? Because I chose in my mind to believe that it can't be done, so I don't even try. So I fail at it before even attempting it, because I decided ahead of time that it's not possible, right? Because it is much easier to live with the notion of I didn't try because it wasn't possible or it wasn't realistic, versus with the notion of I tried and I failed. For some reason, failing is and I believe that it's a cultural thing, that we have depicted failure as a bad thing, right? Like if you fail, and that's the thing too, labels, right? Like this whole NLP, these labels that we put on ourselves, there is a difference between I failed and I am a failure.
Oh,
right?
Sure.
There is a huge difference in that, and people don't understand that, right? People think that if I failed, I'm a failure. And no, success is built on failure, right? You cannot succeed until you fail. And people don't see it that way. And I think it is a cultural thing that we have this pride of I have to get it right on the first try. Like if I try and I don't succeed on the first try, then that's it. You shouldn't have done it. You should have done it.
I think you're really hitting the nail on the head. When I teach, I'm now more teaching teachers, but when I teach to children, I always try to find out where students have their blockages and where they have their where hiatus in their knowledge. So I would ask questions that when I find out failures, I was like happy because I know, here, this they don't know, this they don't. I can help them. So for me, failures, when I see them, they're really helpful for knowing where people are. While for the students, at least before they knew me, they were like, I want to show that I can do this, and I'm when I can show I can do everything, then I'm right. But I think the thing is, you want to know where your limits are so you can grow. And that is the playing field that for me makes somebody learnable when they're not afraid to make mistakes, and when they are not ashamed to make mistakes, and when they are willing to acknowledge that they made mistakes. And that is an atmosphere that you really want to get in your groups of therapy or in your class or whatever, that there's not this fear of failure, but more like, let's find out, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that when you just are accepting that failure is part of the process, I think then you are ready for learn. But until that happens, I think it's really difficult. And I don't think we teach people that.
Yeah. I agree.
And I don't know how to, I mean, I tried it in different way. You know, like the best mistakes, or what mistake did you learn from today? But it's still always like this feeling that, but if or that when they did something wrong, that's like, yeah, but I'm supposed to know this. But I think like every mistake you make, even when I talk, that, for example, with my TEDx, I wanted to say it in one way and then I use another word. I think and my ego said, but you should have said that. But then when you're just there and you think like what you said, like the best effort, you give it your best every time, your brain chooses another word because maybe it feels better. So you know, there are no mistakes. You always give your best, and it gives always information back, whatever you say, whatever happens. So just be willing to investigate what happened and why you made the mistakes, because in every mistake there's a huge opportunity to find something out. And it's not finding out what is lacking on you, but it's more like, where is your growth potential?
Yeah, it's building that relationship with failure, you know, like having that relationship, a different relationship with failure, you know, like failure is not out to get you, right? Like, and failure doesn't define you either, you know. Failure is a tool, right? Like you can just use it to push you forward. Yeah, to push you forward. It's like, okay, I messed that up. How can I fix it? How can I do it better next time? You know.
But what does it say? What does it say that this happened? What does it tell you? What did it tell you that happened?
Exactly.
It's not only telling you you should learn this better. It can also say maybe you want a different direction. Maybe this is, you know, it's not only you know, hard evidence that you're you know, you're failing. A failure is sometimes more subtle than that.
Right. No, that's true. That is true. But yeah, I think it's very interesting, you know, that I have students that don't even, you know, dare answer a question because they already decided that they were wrong. You know, like they have already decided, like, well, I know I'm wrong, but, and I'm like, well, that's a spirit.
Yeah.
How do you know? You know, and I always tell them, I was like, let me decide whether you are wrong or not. You know, I decide that. And I kind of like put this kind of playful, you know, but playful like authority of like, you don't get to choose whether you're a failure or not, you know, because you're not, regardless, you know. And it's harder with some students over others, you know, when they just don't realize that it is not failure, you know, like it's not.